Hey, what's going on, everybody? Boilon here, back for another video here on Marvel Strike Force. Now, in today's video, we are going to be talking about Purple ISO, but we're going to be talking about Purple ISO in relation to the upcoming ORCHIS raids. Now, this is going to be really important. We're actually going to start at the very beginning, I have this new DD8 infographic, and the reason why this is important to this video is actually because we're going to be doing the best we can to double dip with Dark Dimension 8 and ORCHIS raids. And I think it's really important that people, at least in the back of their mind, consider that you're going to need Purple ISO for ORCHIS raids. And, I think that this is going to come before the launch of Dark Dimension 8 because they're going to want you to make that conscious decision about having to upgrade characters to Purple ISO that you may or may not use for DD8. Now, I hope that you do because that's why I'm trying to double dip. And now that we know that, G19 is not necessarily a requirement, makes it a little bit easier. So in this, we're going to be just taking a look at everything that you're going to need for preparing yourself for ORCHIS raids if they have a Purple ISO 1, 2, or 3 requirements. And honestly, that is what I believe is going to be happening. And I actually think that ORCHIS raids might be coming sooner than you might think. I originally I thought that maybe they'd wait a month or so, but honestly, I have a gut feeling that we might need to start thinking about this a little bit earlier. So if you're ready to go, everybody, let's boil this down. So I want to start here. This is just a little like a tier maker infographic thing that I made for Dark Dimension 8 that I've updated because it kind of highlights the characters that I, at this point in time, am considering taking in to DD8. Some of these I actually took into DD7 as well, so that's great because they're already going to be G19. But I just want to cover this really quickly. A lot of these are ORCHIS raid picks that you're going to be using in there, the main raid teams, right? So you have the 3 city villains from Hivemind. The other 2 obviously are not city villains. And then at that point, I'm not here to debate my DD8 picks, but I'm just kind of highlighting why they're also raid picks as well. And then City Hero, we do have the Spider Society. That makes the most sense. Double dipping, right? And Global Villain, I think we have Apocalypse, and then we have the ORCHIS team. Now, hopefully you watched my video from like a week ago when I talked about those characters, which is going to be the next patch. That's going to be the next team, the ORCHIS raid team with Nimrod, Sentinel, and Omega Sentinel. I don't have an icon for Omega Sentinel, and so those are going to be global villain characters. It's an entire global villain team. Now, global hero, Extreme X-Men, for the minus Cyclops, I think you probably could use Cyclops, but I don't know if people, that's the funny thing, because I don't know if people want a purple ISO Cyclops, but I think you might end up having to anyways for the raid. So, I mean, it's either going to be Cyclops in your 5th position, or I've also put Hank Pym, because I think Hank Pym is a really great character just in general with his kit for a hero callouts, and I think this makes a lot of sense. He's a current character anyways. You're going to use him for the next legendary event. I think there's a lot of overlapping here with Hank Pym's kit to Extreme X-Men and being viable. So that's who I'm going to put in this position here. Not a raid character, though. And then Cosmic / Legendary down below, depending on what you have available to you. But obviously, it's going to be the 3 main Annihilators. I do want to point that out first. Gladiator, Gore, and Thanos, because obviously by the time DD8 comes out, that's going to be there. And then we have Old Man Logan. We have Mephisto. And my only issue with Super Skrull is that you probably want to maintain that 2 hero, 2 villain thing. And that's going to be very hard to do. Because if you are taking the Annihilators, then in Old Man Logan, that is 1 hero. And so you can't really fulfill that. So Skrull might be dropped, and especially if you do have Mephisto, it's probably going to be dropped as well. So again, not important to the raid part of things. I just wanted to do this quick overview before we talk about what's important, which is going to be these raid characters and having to get them purple ISO'd up. So I have this spreadsheet. There's a lot of stuff here. Honestly, I've just been adding to the same sheet. This is like my DD8 purple ISO sheet. There's a lot of stuff going on, including like you might see random Ares stuff because for some reason that's on the same sheet as well. But where I want to kind of start us off at is over up here, which is just the general cost of what like a purple ISO character costs to purple 3 and at the various levels as well. So I have this here, the purple ISO 1, 2, 3. I'm kind of like preempting a 4 and the 5 in the future. But to upgrade your ISO crystal costs, obviously there's none. There's no cost to apply the 1 crystal or the level 1 because you're not fusing. You're not doing any crafting. But the upgrade cost for the class is 7,500 ions. So for 1 character, it's just 7,500 ions. It's pretty cheap. But once you go to purple 2, things go up a little bit more. It costs 50,000 total to fuse. It's 10,000 per stat. So 50,000 per character plus the upgrade cost of 22,300. It's such a weird number. It's like Walmart values here. I don't know why they have it at 22.3, not 22.5. Kind of rubs my OCD the wrong way. But anyway, 72.3 is the total for purple ISO 2. You would also actually you would add it with the 7,500 to get the grand total. And then for the purple ISO 3 level is 235k plus a 45k upgrade fee, and then 280k. You would add all those together, and one character to purple 3 would cost you about 360k. Now, times that by 25 for Dark Dimension 8 anyways, that would give you about 9 million ions that you would need. This doesn't include anything like radioactive treats in the current event store, nothing like that. It's just pure ions that you would need to, if you had the crystals on hand, all of the ions that would require you to do that. Now, this stuff is going to be important for things like the ORCHIS raids, like to understand, how much it's going to cost you basically to say upgrade a raid character to purple 1 or purple 2, because I think that it's going to be a sliding scale. As far as I'm aware, there's going to be a handful of difficulties. And we talked about the separate maps thing as well. Go back and check out my video on ORCHIS raids and all the stuff going up. I'm not going to regurgitate that again. But if we have purple 1, purple 2 at the different difficulty levels, you're going to need a certain amount of ISO available to your raid characters, right? And I do want to say that I don't know for sure. I'm just kind of this part I'm guessing that they may have, just like they did for Incursion 2, where you need to clear, I believe was it 50% to get to the next difficulty, and then I think it was 50, 60, and it kind of went up by 10% or so. And so the goal, I guess, for the start of ORCHIS raids, I suppose would be to get 60%, right? At least. I don't really want people to be, adding purple ISO to Pegasus or Bifrost at all, because those teams are being replaced within the next 2 months. So, that's I'm kind of, this video is aiming towards like getting you to 60%, I suppose, which would be the main 3 teams of Spider Society, Extreme X-Men, and Hive Mind, not in any particular order, but those are the 3, teams that aren't being replaced in this ORCHIS raid season. And so that's the goal, right? Whether it's getting the 40% for the reward structure, or 50% for the next difficulty, or 60% to the next difficulty, that's the aim of this video here for you. So what I did was I broke down the classes for the different teams, right? We have purple ISO for Hive Mind, Extreme X-Men, and Spider Society, and breaking down, the classes. How many characters, what classes are they, right? Because when you're going around hunting in your purple ISO store, you're going to want to think about like, how many of these do I need for ORCHIS raids? Not even Dark Dimension 8, but like if I'm applying, say, purple 1 or purple 2 to all of my 15 raid characters, how many do I need? And that's what we're here to get to the bottom of as well. So for Hive Mind, you have 2 brawler characters, 1 controller, 1 protector, 1 support. No blasters, but don't worry, because on Extreme X-Men, it's like completely the opposite, and you have like 3 blasters, right? You have Cyclops, if you're using him. I think you probably will, from what I understand, at least in the beginning, and then you may add in later Old Man Logan at higher difficulties, who's a controller. So, we'll see about that one. 1 brawler and 1 support with Forge, right? Nightcrawler and the 3 blasters. So a lot of blasters, unfortunately, on the Extreme X-Men team. Spider Society, however, is very it's well laid out. They're 1 of each, which is great. And then the grand total then is 4 brawlers, 4 blasters, 2 controllers, 2 protectors, and 3 support. So again, why is that important? Because that means you're going to need 4 times as many brawler and blaster ISO crystals, right? So when you're in the lookout, and I mentioned this with regards to brawlers in one of my previous videos, because if you look at the total amount of Dark Dimension 8 brawlers that you're probably going to take in, there's going to be more. It's going to be more than any of the other classes. So when I'm buying my stuff, I am kind of keeping that in mind. Right now, I'm being conscious about, making sure that I spend all of this before the event store goes away, because I don't want to be in the position to having to core this event store. So knowing that I do need more brawler crystals, I am buying these. And honestly, I'm pretty comfortable with buying the 1s at this point. Like, I would be careful about buying packs of 9 if you don't need it. I would just make sure that you'll eventually probably use it, but I would, kind of not buy that many in bulk, in my opinion. 3 maybe, but not 9. I think it's just, make sure you understand what characters you're using them for before you buy that. If it's a brawler 9, maybe you'll probably make use of that. So just wanted to let people know about that one. And then the total cost for 15 characters, just like what we said up above in my other chart, but 15 characters specifically to purple 1, 2, and 3. So it's about 112,000 ions to upgrade 50 characters, or 15 characters, sorry, by upgrading their class to purple 1. For purple 2, it's going to be over 1 million, just over 1 million for 15 characters to purple 2. That includes the fusion costs as well as the class upgrade costs as well. So that's interesting, right? Because I have about 900,000 ions. So hopefully after, especially after Diamond Claws, I will have enough to at least take up the characters that I need, the 15 characters to purple 2. I'm not spending. So this is probably, we're looking at like maybe when ORCHIS raids go live, reasonably some of us, especially if you've been following my videos, that purple 1 or purple 2 it should be on the cards for these 15 characters. I am just super reluctant, and I think unless you're a whale or a kraken, you are not spending purple ISO on Pegasus or Bifrost. It is not a good idea. I don't care unless they screw us and it's like in the first lane, because obviously I don't know the laning order, but I have this feeling they're not going to be shoving, because they already did it in Incursion 2. So I don't think that they're going to be in the first 40%. I think they're going to be in the back 40%. So as far as getting towards that 50% mark, I don't think that's going to be a huge issue for those two teams, and I do not recommend upgrading that. I just want to make that very clear, if I haven't been already, that those teams are being replaced, right? So don't apply purple ISO unless you are a spender and you have so much of this stuff, then you probably don't need my help anyways. And the 15 cost of purple 3, sorry, I didn't get to finishing that, is 4.2 million. So this one is a lot more expensive, and this is where we're getting to DD8 territory, right? Because purple 3 is equivalent to Dark Dimension 8 entry. And at that point in time, like, I'm not sure if this is probably going to be the last difficulty of ORCHIS raid. That's what I'm assuming. And it's probably not something that a lot of us are going to get to unless we're spending, because it is not only is it required for DD8, but the threshold is fairly high in terms of like how much ions and crystals that you need to do that for raid characters. However, like I mentioned, like I'll be taking Spider Society to DD8. That's not a problem. The 3 Hive Mind, at least, I'll be taking to DD8, and I'm going to try to take at least 4, maybe 5 Extreme X-Men. I might take Hank Pym. Maybe I might take Cyclops. Who knows? We'll see if we're still using Cyclops at the higher difficulties at purple 3. Like if I need to take Cyclops to purple 3, then it makes sense that I'm just going to take him to Dark Dimension 8, right, at that point. And so that's the most important thing that you guys need to understand, and also just keep in mind too, as we're getting our purple ISO in, and how much that you're going to be needing for each of the characters for these 3 main raid teams that we have that are not being replaced in this cycle. And I did want to do one final breakdown that I want to share with you guys here, which is basically a breakdown of total crystals per stat. So what this means here is that if you're going for purple 1, purple 2, or purple 3, you're going to need that many crystals for these 15 characters per stat. So I'm going to make this available also on my Discord server in the Boilon's resources channel. But basically, okay, if you're upgrading all of these 15 characters, the 3 teams, to purple 1, you need, 4 Brawler crystals per stat, 4 Blaster crystals per stat, 2 Controller, 2 Protector, and 3 Support. Pretty simple. It's not a lot there. Getting to purple 1 shouldn't be a big deal. Like, honestly, you could probably do it right now. Or at least you should be able to. If you've been keeping up in the top 1 to 3% of events, and you've been, slowly buying crystals in the store, then it shouldn't be that big of a deal. Now, for purple 2, it's triple, right? You're going from 1 crystal to 3 crystals required. So you're just timing this by 3, and now you need 12 Brawler crystals, 12 Blaster crystals, 6 Controller, 6 Protector, and 9 Support. So when I'm looking at how many I have, I realize I just bought them all, but when I'm looking at like how much I have, oh, look, I only have 3 armor. Well, it looks like if I want to get them to, if I want to get them all to purple 2, I'm going to need 6 Protector crystals per stat. So you know what? Maybe I should be buying some Protector armor crystals when they show up, right? So that's the kind of thing that I'm looking at. And for purple 3, again, this one's a little bit of a jump. It's kind of more related to Dark Dimension 8 at this point. It's a lot more, right? 36 Brawler crystals, 36 Blasters, 18 Controller, 18 Protector, and 27 Support. So basically, that means that there's the most amount of Brawlers and Blasters. Unfortunately, the Blasters is primarily due to Cyclops also being added. The whole team just has a ton of Blasters. I would prefer to use Old Man Logan if possible, but if you remember what I said, is that they're buffing the stats on the actual teams. So Old Man Logan won't be recipient of these stat mod buffs that are going to happen in the ORCHIS raids. So how viable he is in that, I am not sure at this point, because they're trying to push you to use the full team. So that's something that I'm going to be keeping an eye out for, is that like I'm going to be using my chart to basically guide my decision on buying my crystals. I still have quite a few radioactive treats, and we're getting more for diamond claws as well. So I'm hoping that by the time Orcus raids launch, honestly, my raid characters are prepared for purple 2 at the very least. I think this is reasonable. 12, 12, 6, 6, and 9 for the various stack crystals. You know, hopefully that you've had some time to buy some of these up. If not, definitely purple 1 for sure, right? Like there's no reason you shouldn't be able to like upgrade these 15 characters to purple 1. I think there's been enough time at this point, but that's just my thoughts anyways. So I hope that some of this was helpful, both for thinking about DD8, but more importantly, thinking about Orcus raids, because I got to be honest, like I have this gut feeling that we're going to be seeing it sooner rather than later. You know, I think we're going to see it before the end of the month for sure, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's within like 3 weeks. But that's just my feeling and my thoughts. Let me know what yours are in the comments down below, and that's going to be the end of this video. And until next time, stay safe and healthy, and I'll see you all later. Boilon signing out.